Bem-vindos todos. Voltamos a Sherlock Holmes da Rua Baker.
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look. The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look. The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should...
This is where I keep...
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look.
Cara, onde tá essa carta, meu senhor?
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look. The letter is on the table. You should take a look. The letter is on the table, Holmes.
Cala a boca, Watson. Já tá enchendo o saco já.
The letter is on the table, Holmes. You should take a look.
Watson, vou te dar um tiro.
I can tell from Lestrade's handwriting that he was in a hurry when he wrote this letter. The Brackenstall family coat of arms. The Brackenstall family. A wax seal with the monogram E.B.
So, what is it, Holmes?
Promising, as always, it appears to be a case of murder.
So you believe that Sir Eustace is dead?
I should say so. Lestrade wouldn't have sent for me for less. His writing shows considerable agitation, and he is not an emotional man. These people belong to high society. The quality of the writing paper, the EB monogram, their coat of arms. The crime was committed before midnight.
Holmes, how can you possibly tell?
Well, it is all thanks to Lestrade. He wrote his letter at 3:30 in the morning. Imagine the chain of events before that. The local police had to be called in. Scotland Yard was notified. Lestrade himself had to make haste there, and finally compose the letter he sent to me. All of that makes for a fair night's work.
It makes sense. Lestrade also speaks of the woman he released.
That seems to indicate that she had been held somewhere during the crime. Much time has been wasted. Let us find a cab and go to Abbey Grange
E aí,
immediately.
GX?
I
Tudo certo?
live in hope of an interesting morning.
Como é que passou o dia? Também tô bem. Passei quase a tarde inteira jogando Genshin, mas tudo bem. É, aqui também tá quente também. Não chega a ser o que eu chamaria de muito calor, mas não tá fresco.
She has given so clear an account of the affair that there is not much left for us to do. You remember that Lewisham gang of burglars?
What, the three Randalls?
Exactly. The father
Valeu.
and two sons. It's their work. They stole a silver service, which is of great value.
Sir Eustace Brackenstall is dead, then?
Yes. His head was knocked in with his own poker.
A violent
Terminei
Yes.
a storyline de
poor lady.
Fontaine.
She has had
O
a
final
most
foi muito
dreadful
bom.
experience. She was assaulted and tied to a chair. But I think that you would best see her and hear her account of the facts. She's in the morning room with her maid, Teresa Wright.
Where is the body of the deceased?
In the dining room.
E é claro,
We haven't touched anything.
peguei a
Alright.
furina, né?
I'm going to
Então,
examine it.
Very good, Watson.
agora descobri um jeito rápido de matar o boss pra upar ela.
Sir Warthen Brackenstall. Ladies, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm assisting Inspector Lestrade in this investigation.
Mr. Holmes, I am the wife of Sir Eustace Brackenstall. We were married only a year ago.
I am sorry for your loss. Please accept my deepest condolences.
I suppose that it is no use my attempting to conceal that our marriage has not been a happy one. I fear that all would tell you that, even if I were to attempt to deny it.
Vamos começar pelas provas mais óbvias, né? Os machucados pesados na cara.
Can you describe to me the events of yesterday evening?
Is it really necessary? I have already told Inspector Lestrade
A
all that
Furina
happened.
é um personagem
Yes,
que
madam, it is.
I will
ela me
tell you.
surpreendeu bastante.
Sir Eustace retired about 10:30. I sat in this room until after 11.
E aí, BM?
absorbed in a book. Before I went upstairs, I entered the dining room to fetch a candle and... Oh God.
Como é que
Please,
passou o dia?
go on.
As I approached the French window, I found myself face to face with an elderly, broad-shouldered man who had just stepped into the room. Close behind the first man, I saw two others. One of them struck me a savage blow with his fist and felled me unconscious to the ground.
And then?
When I came to myself, I found that they had secured me tightly to a dining room chair. It was at that instant my unfortunate husband entered the room.
He fought with the intruders?
Yes, I think he had heard them, for he was holding his stick. But they were three, and he eventually succumbed.
O status é fixo, é o personagem que é
struck
bom.
him a terrible blow with the poker. I fainted once more. When I opened my eyes, they had withdrawn. Then my brave Teresa came to my assistance.
Did these three villains steal anything?
Yes, I found that they had taken the silver from the sideboard, but you can see for yourself in the dining room.
You mentioned that your marriage was not a happy one. Was there anything specific that was troubling you?
He was not a nice man when he was drunk, and he suffered from dark moods, but nothing else.
The bruises on your hands are at least 1 week old. Your husband caused those bruises?
De vez em quando é bom.
Oh, do you? Yes, he did. He was very angry at the time. Out of control. Again. Sir Eustace was a drunkard. To be tied to such a man for life is worse than death.
Dois bons.
Your ladyship? Teresa, I would like to hear your testimony.
Certainly, sir.
O 64, ele é um videogame que é meio injustiçado. Ele tem muita coisa boa.
As I sat by my bedroom window, I saw 3 men in the moonlight down by the lodge gate. But I thought nothing of it at the time. Oh, if I'd known.
And then?
I went to bed, and it was more than an hour after that I heard my mistress scream. And down I ran, to find her tied to the chair and him on the floor with his head smashed. That's all I know.
Concordo.
These scratches are most definitely made by the picture frame. This is Sir Eustace's safe. There may be something important inside. I must ask Lady Brackenstall to open it. Lady Brackenstall, could you open this wall safe?
No, it is my husband's safe. I do not know the combination.
We have to open it. Your ladyship? The description of the Randall gang provided by Lady Brackenstall is identical to the one in the Times article.
De 3 dias pra lua cair, né, o BM? Tá falando? Concordo, foi um negócio bem pensado mesmo.
The body is still in the dining room where the murder took place.
You should examine the body of Sir Eustace Brackenstall.
So, Watson, what have you learned from examining Sir Eustace's body?
Well, I can confirm that the death was instant. Sir Eustace was facing his attacker when he received the blow to his head. There are no other apparent injuries.
Quite a large stick, a formidable weapon. Barefoot, he had therefore been in bed and did not have time to fully dress.
Não conheço muito do Majoras. O que eu sei é
The head was cracked with the
lido
force
por
of
aí.
the blow. That must be the murder weapon.
Ela é boa assim?
This glass has some wine traces, but no visible beeswing. A decanter standing next to the open bottle, an inseparable pair indeed. There is beeswing at the bottom, as if the wine had not been decanted before being poured.
É pouquinho.
Chateau Calon Ségur, French wine, Grand Cru. This glass has some wine traces, but no visible beeswing. It is rather strange that only one of these glasses has dregs of beeswing inside it, while the other two are clear. It appears that the bell rope was cut by someone taller than me. A fur trader's cabin.
Era uma capa mesmo? Que tanto o 64 quanto o Dreamcast tinha um sufoco com capa, essas coisas.
It is covered in blood. Sir Eustace might have struck his head upon it while falling from the blow. That is one possible explanation.
que era difícil naquela época, né? O videogame tinha dificuldade com capa e coisa assim. Pra tu ver.
The hunting scene.
A Nintendo quando quer
A hunter's
supera.
cabin. A trapper's hut. A trapper's hut.
O chato é que dificilmente se esforçam muito pra...
The death was instant.
Antique hunting weapons.
fazer um jogo realmente foda.
This candlestick is valuable. It is interesting that it was not also stolen. An empty silverware box. It appears that the intruders have stolen the contents. A bottle of wine is missing here. These wine bottles are expensive and mostly from France. The criminals did not thoroughly ransack the house. They only took a little silverware. The hunting scene. This door leads to the upstairs bedrooms. Apparently the criminals did not venture there. A deer hunt. Sailor's knots. That's interesting. This rope was handled by the murderers. We need a scent hound to follow their trail. I will take it with me. This is the chair that Lady Brackenstall was tied to.
Deixa eu passar alguma coisa aqui. Porque o jogo tá dizendo que eu deixei, então...
This photograph of Lady Brackenstall and her maid Teresa was taken at a port, but which one? So the lady and her maid came from Australia a year and a half ago
Sim.
on this ship.
Foi uma sacada de gênio, Neblina.
Let us try to open this safe. This safe can be cracked. I only have to pay attention. The dial will vibrate when it is set to the correct number. It is common practice to keep one's valuables in a safe behind a painting. It should not really pose a challenge for a criminal.
E de novo, o Devil May Cry usou um nevoeiro
Antique
como
coins, possibly of value,
escapatória
but they're
para não ter que
scattered
renderizar
without
tudo.
care.
Aqui de novo uma jogada de gênio. Uhum. Outro dia eu tava. Tempo atrás eu tava jogando Devil May Cry 2 em live. Acho que tu lembra, né?
What do you know about Sir Eustace, Inspector? What was his reputation?
A charming man when sober, but an absolute demon when he was drunk. Such moments he was apparently capable of anything. Why, once he splashed fuel on Lady Brackenstall's dog and set it alight. Another day he threw a decanter of wine at Miss Wright's head.
Dino Crisis seria uma boa.
Seemed to madden him.
To the point that we were forced to intervene several times to avoid a scandal.
Outro que seria bom é o Parasite Eve. Uma franquia que eu gostaria que voltasse era a Suikoden. Não sei se tu conhece. E GX, jogos em pixel, eles basicamente não envelhecem, quer dizer, né? O Suikoden é um dos RPGs com o maior número de personagens que eu conheço. 108.
Come on, Toby. We need the best
É
nose
claro,
in the
nem
British
todos
Empire on this
são
case.
de batalha.
I agree with you, Toby, that Watson's shoe is preferable to Mrs. Hudson's cold cuts. Let us see how the rope was cut. The fibers at the end of the rope are smoothly cut. Let us try to find out what tool was used to cut the rope. The fibers from this cut appear to be different. The fibers from this cut appear to be different. If I cut the rope with a knife, it matches the original.
O jogo é legal, cara. O jogo é legal. Saíram 5 na franquia até agora. A franquia principal, né? Se juntar os adjuntos, aí...
I agree with you, Toby, that
Someone should take Toby for a walk.
Se juntar os adjuntos, aí a coisa fica longa. Ó o Toby.
such, Toby.
Cheirinho. O cheirinho tá saindo. Tô 108, mas uns 80 são jogáveis, cara. Em média. E aí a parte mais complicada. Para pegar o melhor final, você tem que recrutar os 108. Se deixar escapar um, já é Elvis. É uma franquia que começou no Play 1, cara. Isso que mais me espanta.
The intruders entered the shed for some reason when they were making off with the silverware. Brave Toby, the best nose in the British Empire.
Deixa eu passar alguma coisa. Porque o cheiro vem pra cá. Ah, ó aqui o que eu deixei passar.
The scent leads to the well. I should check it.
Dog Simulator.
The intruder's trail is lost behind this wall. The criminals left the house through the French window. They walked to the shed, then across to the well, before fleeing by climbing over the wall. I wonder why they chose such a winding route.
Não sei, mas vamos investigar local por local. Primeiro aqui.
This hook might be useful. This old suitcase sounds hollow. It must be empty. Bags of seed. Some empty bags were recently moved. Small gardening tools, nothing of great interest.
Depois foi no poço. Vamos ver o poço. Tá fechado. Não tá mais.
There's something glittering at the bottom there, but how can I reach it? Silverware. This is hardly a coincidence. The Brackenstall coat of arms. It appears that we have found the stolen silverware.
Cara, não fala isso. Só deles são bons pra mim.
There are 3 glasses on the dining room table. I was wondering if...
Oh, I forgot. When I came to myself the first time, each of them had a glass in his hand. They might have been a father and his 2 sons. They talked together in whispers, and then they left.
We found your silverware, Lady Brackenstall. It had not been taken very far.
Is that true? I am very thankful to you, Mr. Holmes.
Your ladyship? Sir Eustace's doctor speaks of his violent behaviour.
Yes, Sir Eustace was an extremely violent man. A detestable human being, to be more precise. It is true that he once threw a decanter at me, and all because I dared to stand up to him in defence of my mistress. Sly devil. God forgive me that I should speak of him so now that he's dead, but a devil he was, if ever one walked the earth. We met him only 18 months ago. She'd only just arrived in London. Yes, it was her first voyage. She'd never been from home before. Wonder with his title and his money and his false London ways. If she made a mistake, she has paid for it, if ever a woman did. She doesn't have any friends here, so it was especially hard for her.
We found your mistress's silverware.
Oh, that's good news. You really are as clever as they say.
Indeed. Inspector, I have recovered the stolen silverware.
You are a wizard, Mr. Holmes. And where is it?
In the garden well.
Excuse me?
Unique, isn't it?
Rather absurd. What is the point of stealing silverware and then throwing it down into a well?
Perhaps it was used as a temporary hiding place, or simply the thieves wanted to get rid of it. It is up to us to solve this mystery.
What should we do next, Holmes?
Here it is. The shipping company, the Adelaide, Southampton, London line, and its address. Interesting. It must be the place where they keep the records, including the one for the crew of the Rock of Gibraltar.
I think that if you pretend you're from Scotland Yard, they'll give it to you without any problems.
But I have another solution. I'll call in the specialist.
Espera das caras.
Come upstairs, please.
At your service, Mr. Holmes.
I need a register, my young friend. If you could borrow it, there will be half a guinea for every one of you. I need the crew list of the Rock of Gibraltar in 1893, and their current employment.
I'm straight on it, Mr. Holmes.
Do you really think they'll find it, Holmes?
My secret police is better than the Yard in many ways.
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. But we can't take it back. It's too risky.
Put it on the table. I'll take care of it. Good work, young Wiggins. This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. And these are the lists of the senior officers of the Adelaide, Southampton, London Line ships. Let us find out who was in London upon November the 7th. This officer was on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the time of the crime. Mr. Jack Crocker was in London upon the date of the crime, and he is due to depart in 2 days. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved. This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. Mr. Jack Crocker was in London upon the date of the crime, and he is due to depart in 2 days. This officer was on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the time of the crime. Captain Jack Crocker is our mysterious visitor. He was the only one around at the time of the murder.
This Crocker, do you think...
It would be interesting to meet him. Our young friend should be able to find him. Wiggins, could you find a way to bring this Captain Crocker here to us?
Here? Holmes, that could be dangerous.
No problem, Mr. Holmes.
Apostou alguma coisa com ela, Benny?
Mr. Holmes, I was informed that you were looking for me, and I'd like to know why.
Yes, it is important that we talk. You will soon understand why. You are acquainted with Lady Mary Brackenstall, are you not?
Yes, I think I do remember her. From when I was first officer, but I still don't see...
It seems your relationship went beyond that of mere passenger and first officer.
How dare you?
Indeed, how reckless a feeling is love, particularly if one is prepared to commit a murder in its name.
Explain yourself this instant.
You are aware that the murder made the headlines of the morning press. You read the newspaper report, but to your dismay, found it much fabricated. Once you learned that I wanted to see you, you came straight away. You needed to know what I had found.
You? And what do you know?
That evening, you were with Lady Brackenstall, despite the danger.
I'm not afraid, Mr. Holmes. Besides, all of this is just guesswork.
You would be right, if there was no evidence.
What then?
Lady Brackenstall was tied to a chair on the night of the murder. And it was you who tied her up.
You call that evidence?
Yes, as she was tied with a sailor's knot. Your handiwork.
So, it's a sailor who's done it. That proves nothing, Mr. Holmes. I'm not the only sailor in London right now. Your theory is flawed anyway. On the night of the murder, I was aboard the Shark. I was supervising the repair of a porthole.
At night?
It was an emergency. There was a leak. You can ask the ship's carpenter. He can confirm.
I'm sure that he can.
Perfect. In that case, we have nothing more to talk about. Good evening, gentlemen.
Holmes, what should we do now? Would you like to check his alibi?
No. There is no doubt that these men will testify in his favor, and there will be no way to check.
So, what then?
So, we must work with what we have. We have all the puzzle pieces.
Aprende,
Now
né?
I understand why you dissected the bell rope.
Bom, esse caso está mais curto do que eu esperava. Então acho que a gente vai começar o próximo já.
Wiggins, could you ask Mr. Crocker to come here again, please?
Right away.
Why did you make me come here again, Mr. Holmes?
It is over. I know that it was you who killed Sir Eustace Brackenstall.
What?
I know, because of the height at which the rope was cut. The knife used was a sea knife. The knots were sailor's knots, and not least the sheer force that was put behind the killing blow. And because you are the only one who knows Lady Mary Brackenstall in London. And because you love her.
It's true.
It is time for you to tell us the whole truth.
I admit that I loved Mary madly from the first day that I met her. But I never did come to visit her, for I believed that she was in a happy household. When I talked to her maid, who told me everything, I was insane with rage. I was due to set sail for 6 months away, wanted only to see her again. But it turned into a damnable nightmare when he barged in. He dared raise his hand to her. He was not even worthy of licking her boots. Oh, I regret nothing. I admit I killed the monster out of love for her. She will forgive me if she is able.
Lady Brackenstall already forgave you. She said nothing.
Mary.
But that makes her an accomplice as well as her maid. It places her in danger yet again.
Mr. Holmes.
You would not have managed to protect her.
Till I die, do you hear me? Here is a letter that sets everything clear. And it is the one that should be disclosed to the police. I am the only culprit. Mary had nothing to do with it. Now it is time to end this.
Please forgive me, Captain Crocker. I wished only to test your sincerity, and your words and deeds have far exceeded my expectations. See here, Captain Crocker, we'll do this in due form of law. You are the prisoner. Watson, you are a British jury. Captain Crocker, the evidence shows that you acted without premeditation and used reasonable force to protect an innocent victim from her husband's brutality. Your devotion pushed you to attempt to kill yourself in order to protect the one you love. Now, what say you, gentlemen of the jury?
Not guilty, my lord.
Vox populi, vox dei. You are acquitted, Captain Crocker. So long as the law does not find some other victim, you are safe from me.
Mr. Holmes.
It is a great responsibility that I take upon myself, but I will give Lestrade an excellent lead, and if he can't avail himself of it, I can do no more. Come back to your lady in a year, and may her future and yours justify us in the judgment which we have pronounced this night. Inspector, I'm afraid that the murderers have escaped us.
What? Do you mean to tell me that you failed? Never thought I'd live to see the day.
I mentioned the murderers, not the case. It is obvious that the crime was committed by 3 criminals who cannot be the Randalls.
You really think so?
You only need to find a gang of 3 thugs wandering around. I can trust you to do that.
If they exist, I'll catch them.
You'll find someone, I have no doubt of it. Goodbye, Inspector.
Eu vou fechar a live só para mudar, para separar os casos. Já volto. Tá mais uma vez com Sherlock Holmes.
Holmes, for heaven's sake, whatever's going on?
Oh, hello, Watson. You're early. Did you kill all of your patients?
What? Holmes, where have all these wretched bees come from?
I increased the temperature of the room so as to prevent them from hibernating. I needed to take a sample of honey. But it worked, Watson. We will have honey all year round.
Ridiculous and dangerous.
They're domestic bees, Apis mellifera, such industrious workers. Anyway, Watson, I am sorry, but I must leave you. I'm in rather a hurry.
You have a new case?
Yes, but nothing as thrilling as this experiment. A theft of plants at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I'm helping a minister who's an old friend of mine. You can join me if you like.
Well, I'll... admit that I'd far rather accompany you than remain alone here with these workers of yours. Besides, you'll need a helping hand with the flowers you're intending to bring back.
Watson, how ever did you guess?
For the great Sherlock Holmes to bother with the theft of plants. Come on, admit that you're planning to spoil your little bees with some rare pollens.
Since when did I become so transparent? Let us go.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
Don't touch anything else, is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer. And without turning it over this time. Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favor for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. And that fellow yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Muito bem. O caso anterior foi curto, então, pelo visto, vamos ter um segundo caso no período de uma live.
This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry. We were not aware. The two of you were good friends?
He was my father.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house?
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack. Just like that. So suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand. According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead. The traces are thinner in some places. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here. The door was smashed at shoulder height. This door handle is new. It was recently changed. The esconsson was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the Colonial Collection room. The handle was changed afterwards.
I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection room.
Whoa.
Very strange. Half of the Colonial Collection is absent. The smell is strong. It is a detergent. This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture. These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly cleaned. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. These plants come from all the territories of the British Empire. Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building. Dry tropics. These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition purposes. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
É, por quê?
Water lily greenhouse. According to this, they have light. Here is a list of the stolen plants.
Do not touch.
Faz sentido.
The plants were here. All of them were stolen. This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it. Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all. No, it wasn't like that. This reconstruction reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the Colonial Collection Room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder?
I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy then.
This watch is of great value. A membership card for the London Crest Club. A beautiful feather pen of a good make.
Tá. Vamos ver. Staff 1. Lestrade. Mortuário. Aqui.
First of all, let us carry out an external examination. Nothing suspicious here.
Segundo maior.
No redness, stings, or bruises. There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy.
Sim. Palavras do próprio.
There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the water lily greenhouse. The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma. Now, let us examine the internal organs. The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs. The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs. There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction. The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs. The lungs are congested and edematous.
Opa.
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from an unknown plant. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean...
Yes, it is murder.
We should inform Lestrade.
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No. We also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No. A few innocuous questions at Q will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs. Yes, Watson, it is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building. I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Agora uma curiosidade, BM. As deduções do Batman são baseadas justamente no Senhor Holmes. Isso é engraçado, né? Agora, pelas palavras do próprio Batman, sabe quem é o primeiro lugar?
Locked. Locked. Nursery. Locked. Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the colonial collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
Most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before. And now all of a sudden he is trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
As deputy director, How was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression. Great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say? He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That
And...
he had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Can I help you, gentlemen?
Yes, you can.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only. For I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah, at the moment I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens, and I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the Deputy Director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? Well, that is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honor of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Look, Holmes, this charming lady must be Miss White. She's entering the seed house.
Sim, se você não tivesse me interrompido, eu teria alcançado
There
ela
is a
já.
smell of burning.
Eita ferro.
A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the colonial collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material. A broom handle was half burned. The remains of a picture frame. A protective mask. Someone set it alight, but it did not burn. The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens. Open.
Não tem essa opção não, GX. Se tivesse, ficava mais fácil.
You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you too. But
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious. The seeds of plant species are stored here. The seeds...
Opa. Acho que achamos nossa estátua quebrada.
I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place. Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the colonial collection room is what they have in common. It is a bust of Montague Dunn. These young plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery. We can see the interior of the colonial collection room from this window. A glasses case. It is empty. A thesis written by Martin Hamish. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office. An award presented to Martin Hamish for Best Grower of the Year. A master's degree diploma. It belongs to Martin Hamish.
doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops. The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose. This is a table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes. A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory.
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered.
Seria prático.
Yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
Martin Hamish's perception.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
And it seems clear from these multiple experiments that plants do respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report. Chemicals. A sufficient quantity for some serious experiments. A botany book. This student's book belongs to Albert. The employee's cloakroom. Locked.
Holmes, Albert...
It does not matter. Open. Miss White's locker. These jewels must be worth a small fortune. Apparently, Miss White is a capable student. A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents. A vanity purse. It is of high quality. Martin Hamish's locker. Father and I, Kew Gardens. A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces. Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting. Albert's locker. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College. Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A picture of Miss White and Albert in front of the University of London.
And they seem to get along.
Locked.
Eita ferro.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document. A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish. Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens. Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste. French wine, a remarkable vintage.
Que confusão, hein, BM?
Here it is. And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn. Here it is. That is not the one. That is... That is... That... That is... That... That is... That... 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 That is... That... That is not... That is... Here it is. Here it is.
Bom, senhoras e senhores, vamos deixar o encerramento desse caso para semana que vem. Pra galera que está assistindo no YouTube, volto com vocês amanhã com Cross Out. Pra galera que está comigo aqui na Twitch, é hora da raid. Agradeço a presença de todos e até amanhã.